Hi, everyone. My name is Tiff, and I'm the Behavior Manager at the Humane Society of Western Montana, and I'm also a certified professional dog trainer. Welcome to yet another puppy live stream. Thank you for being here tonight. And today's today's topic is we're going to talk about behaviors like how do you socialize puppies safely with other dogs? Sorry, I had to just mute myself on the Facebook real quick. I always forget to do that. And this is such a hugely important topic, socialization with other dogs. I there is so much I want to say about this. I can talk about this easily for hours and hours and hours. And professionally, I spend a big chunk of my day talking about dog interactions because when it goes south, it's really stressful for a lot of people. But we're starting with puppies here, and it is up to us with puppies to socialize our puppies with other dogs. Really quickly, I just want to mention that socialization with dogs does not make your puppy grow up to be a social dog necessarily. Without going into the whole chart thing that I usually do, how social your puppy is with other dogs depends on genetics, and it also depends on socialization. But socialization does not erase genetics. So as an example, you can socialize your puppy in the best way possible, and it may still grow up to be friends with some dogs and not others, because maybe it is just a more people-oriented dog or whatever. There are so many reasons why a dog would be selective, but what I am trying to say is socialization is still very important because you can set your puppy up to have the best chance with success in a world full of dogs, no matter what their genetic template is. So we're going to talk about a lot of factors going into dog socialization today. And I'm also going to show you socialization between the two dogs in my home, because we're going to talk about body language and safety and other things like that. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will address it as best as I can. This is a very, very, very complex topic, extremely complex. So let's first talk about I want to talk about the importance just a little more and kind of the broad picture of how you would socialize your puppy with other dogs. It is not enough for your puppy to live with another dog. That actually doesn't count much towards socialization. So even if you have 5 dogs at home and they're all wonderful and they all get along with your puppy, if you want your puppy to succeed in a world full of dogs, like going to a kid's birthday party and friends have dogs, going to the dog park, going to Blue Mountain, you need to start exposing your puppy to dogs out in the world. Socialization is teaching your puppy what is safe and what is comfortable. So if all they know is there are dogs in the home, but they don't learn there are dogs in the world, they might be fearful or reactive or fine or frustrated when they actually realize there are dogs in the world. The window you have to expose your puppies to dogs in as many situations as possible is when they are 4 to 16 weeks of age. After that, the socialization window is closed, and what is done has been done is what is going to be done as far as their neurological development. So just to give you an example, I'm not a very social person. I work with 20-ish people, most of whom have dogs, and they will tell you that I actually haven't socialized my puppy with any of their dogs. It would have been so easy to do that because their dogs come to work and are in their offices. But I did socialize my puppy Paya very well. She's between 9 to 16 weeks of age, which is when I had her, and now she's 6 months of age. We went to 13 unique locations where she saw 82 different dogs and met 39 different dogs. So she has encountered over 100 dogs in the world during that critical socialization stage. And when I say encountered, it does not mean she went and played with those dogs. It might have been a brief sniff and move on. It might have been she saw them from 5 feet away. It might have been she saw them from 100 feet away. But the fact is, I took her out and I made sure she understood very well there are dogs in the world, and she knows how to deal with it now. I think it was so important that I socialized because I remember very well when I first got her, one walk one night, she saw a dog that was very calm on leash, and she actually fled. Like, she tried to flee on leash. She lunged to the end. She hid behind my legs. She felt trapped. And after a couple weeks of socialization, the next time she saw a dog on a night walk, she was wiggly. I didn't let her say hi, but she wanted to say hi. And I can just imagine how fearful she would be if I didn't expose her to dogs in many different situations. So I want to paint how important it is to go out into the world with your puppies and show them that dogs exist in a safe and positive way. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. So where do you take your puppies, right? Because they're under vaccinated and we don't want them to get sick socializing them. So this is a conversation I recommend you have with your vet as well. I spoke with my vet and said, hey, a socialization is so important to me, especially given my puppy's background, which is she was a stray, we have no idea. And I'm going to go to this place, this place, this place, and this place. And with my vet, we developed a vaccination schedule specific for my puppy, and she gave me a lot of great tips. I'm not going to share those tips with you because I truly think it's important for owners and vets to work together where vaccination and health and safety and socialization overlap in a nice way. It depends on where you live. It depends on what expectations you have with your puppy and so on and so forth. For example, if you live kind of in the middle of the nowhere and you have 10 acres and your dog will mostly spend their time on 10 acres, you don't need to do as much as a person like me who lives very centrally in Missoula with a lot of barking dogs behind fences and things like that. So talk to your vet about vaccinations and about what plans you have. Tell them, hey, I really want to take my dog to this location. What is your advice? And so on and so forth. But the leading experts in behavior and health do recommend that you take your puppies out before they're 16 weeks of age, even though they will not receive their last round of vaccinations until 16 weeks of age. So onwards we go. Where do you go? Avoid highly populated areas. So I did not, of the 13 places that I went, I did not go to the dog park. I didn't go to Jacobs Island or the Railing Dog Park. I didn't go to Blue Mountain, right? Those are places where there are a high concentration of dogs. There's lots of poop and a lot of diseases spread through feces. I don't know the vaccination histories of those dogs, so I would avoid those places. But here are some loose suggestions. If you have friends or neighbors or people you know with healthy, well-adjusted, vaccinated adult dogs, that's actually the best case scenario because you can predict that the dog your puppy is meeting is stable mentally and also healthy. So they are not going to transmit any diseases to your dog. The other option is a well-run puppy socialization program, which in the times of COVID are really, really hard. But there are still some out there. We currently do not have a puppy kindergarten program, but we have a puppy matchmaker program. If you go onto our training and behavior section of our website, you can just fill out a form and we'll try to match people with vaccinated puppies of similar age, size, temperament, things like that. And the other thing is just because you shouldn't walk your puppy through very crowded areas doesn't mean they can't go there. For example, I wouldn't hesitate to carry my puppy through a pet store. I wouldn't hesitate to put my puppy in a crate in a wagon. That's a very outlandish idea, but I would do it and walk down the Kim Williams Trail so they can see all the dogs and joggers and such. Or here's another crazy idea. If you have a hatchback in your car, park somewhere populated and open the hatchback and let your puppy sit there and see other dogs. That counts as socialization for sure. So there are a lot of ways to do it. And if you want more specific ideas, we always put contact information at the end and you can reach out to me and my team and we would love to help you come up with a specific plan. So we talked about safety, we talked about where. Let's talk about how you do the introduction. And I can't emphasize enough, I'm condensing like a book's worth of material into a very short little amount of time today. So when let's say you have it all set up, like you have a good group of dogs or a single dog you want to introduce your puppy to, but how do you go about doing it? Let's talk about what you should bring. You should bring some treats. So I always have treats, reaching around my computer here. I always have treats in a treat pouch. This happens to be your kibble. And because I'm home today, I don't need to carry it in a pouch, but I have some freeze-dried treats here, freeze-dried raw. You don't need to bring a chew, but I'll talk about why I have this in a second. You can bring some chopped up boiled chicken, some Zooks, some store-bought treats, but you want some treats because even though you're not going to go into a formal obedience training session, you want to have something fun on you so that if your puppy is overwhelmed or wants to take a break, or if you need to give your puppy a break, you're not just going to have a screaming, frustrated puppy at the end of your leash. You're going to show them, hey, I'm still fun. And you can teach them actually to have really appropriate social skills too. So have treats on you. It is so important to have a leash. So I'm looking around for all of these tools that I really, oh, here they are. It's right behind my computer. You should have a leash ready. I recommend a fixed length leash, so not a flexi leash, because if your puppy needs a break or if you need to handicap a dog, which I'll talk about in a second, you have this ready. A lot of puppies need to take breaks, or else they just play harder and harder and harder until someone's feelings get hurt, or they get into a minor little scuffle. You want to, if your puppy loves toys, it does really help to bring a little tug toy or something. Again, if they need to take a break, or if they're not playing together, they can still hang out with each other, but you have something motivating to do with your puppy so that they're still having a positive experience around another dog. Always bring poop bags, right? If your puppy poops or if the other dog poops, it's good to keep the environment clean. And I'm going through my list here. So let's say you have everything ready. This is going to be it's going to be a fun demo. I actually don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we'll see. So I know we're in my house right now. We need to talk about a little more about where this would happen. In a perfect world, this would happen outside in a secure, clean space, such as a yard or a big empty field somewhere or a friend's yard. Again, you want to think about vaccination and health as well. But because of the fact that we're live streaming with electronics today, this is going to happen in my house. So I cleared my space. It's still a very small space. I would say it is just on it. You want enough space for dogs to move away if they feel overwhelmed. In this case, each dog has their bed to move away to. Again, this is very staged because these two dogs live with each other with a lot of restrictions, I might add. They don't get to play whenever they want to for many, many reasons. But it is important to me that if my older dog has enough, he can move away. Or if my puppy is overwhelmed by my older dog, she can move away. There is no benefit to letting my dogs bully each other because they're just going to learn to grow up to be bullies and be very hyper aroused and hard to control, and that can lead them into trouble when they are interacting with dogs in the world. So everything should be nice and appropriate. And when you have your environment well set up, then you can let dogs be dogs more, so to speak, because they're more likely to succeed. So let's just make pretend though that this dog, Bray, is my friend's dog. Let's just make pretend. And let's make pretend Paya here is here for a socialization session. So here are some things to consider. There are so many nuances to this because it truly depends on what matches you are making. We know this as humans too. When we hang out with friend A, we probably do different things and talk about different things compared to if we hang out with friend B. And think about the complexities of our relationships with various people in the world. Dogs form certain relationships with other dogs too. So just because your puppy or your dog is social and friendly and likes to wrestle with one dog, it doesn't mean that's all they'll ever do with other dogs. But that leads me to a really important point. The better you know the dog you're introducing your puppy to, the better you can prepare. So if you have any qualms, like, oh, that dog is so much bigger, he's 78 pounds and she is 30 pounds, you want to handicap the dog or the puppy that you feel like is going to be harder to control or more overwhelming. In my case, I don't need to handicap because I know them well enough. But in the beginning, I handicapped Bray because he was like 78 pounds and she was 15 pounds. And if anyone's going to get hurt, it's going to be her. So what handicap means is you put a leash on the dog that you want to better control. And just if you need to move a dog out of the situation, you don't need to grab them. That's pretty scary for a puppy. You can just pick up the leash and move them away. So I'm going to demonstrate that. So let's say that my puppy is actually the more overwhelming one. Let's say my older dog is ornery and doesn't like puppies and he will remove himself, and let's say she jumps all over him and she overwhelms him. Well, then I want to handicap her. So this way, I'm just going to set up a scenario here. Let's say she's bothering him, right? I don't need to go catch her, which is going to teach her to run away from me in the long run. Let's say she's bothering him. I'm throwing treats. I can just pick up the leash. Hey, Paya, let's go take a break, and lead her away from the interaction. And because I have my treats ready, I can just give both dogs a break that way. So this dragging leash can handicap her so that I can better control her, how she's behaving around him. It doesn't mean I'm holding the leash the whole time, like micromanaging. It just means I have options for control if things are not going the way I want them to. So handicapping is always an option. You can also set up a barrier. So behind you see that gated looking thing, that's an exercise pen that spreads out 8 feet. I don't need that anymore, but in the beginning, I had the pen set up in this room. And if you are worried about how an interaction might go, let's say your puppy's a little fearful and shy with new dogs, and you don't want the dog rushing up to their face, you can say, hey, can I set up a pen? Can I set up a gate? Can we meet on opposite sides of your fence so that my puppy can slowly walk up and sniff your dog and then move away and take a break? So I could do something like put a pen in between the room and let both dogs gradually warm up to each other that way. It's never a bad idea to slow down an introduction if you are unsure about how it will go. Having a handicap like a dragging line or even holding one dog or setting up a barrier like a pen is better than holding both dogs on leash tightly and letting them sniff that way, because all that builds is frustration. So and dogs can learn to be reactive, and they're also not acting naturally. So if your puppy is fearful and you're holding them like this and the other person's holding their dog and they're trying to come sniff your puppy is going to feel overwhelmed because they're trapped with this small radius, and the other dog is actually going to get more overly excited because they're trapped and they really want to greet your puppy. So using pens and gates and fences is much more smooth for all parties involved. All right, I don't see any questions come through yet, but again, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. This is a very, very complex topic. All right, the other thing I like to do is, this gets a little bit more into training. I like to give my puppy permission to go greet. Of all the things I talk about today, for the purposes of socialization, this is the least important thing, because I'd rather you socialize your puppies and not focus too much on training. But I have 2 dogs that can be really, really overwhelming and hyper, given the chance to be that way. So as an example, if my dogs are really raring to go at each other, I might not let them go because the stress level is high and they might get overwhelmed with each other too quickly. Whereas when they're both calm like this, if they start playing from a calm state, it's more likely to go well. All right, I'm gonna let them play in a second. It's gonna be super cute and fun to watch, but I want to, I wish I had a bingo card for you guys. Let's look for these body language behaviors that they're gonna show us. But here are a few things to look out for when dogs interact, whether they play or not. Socialization does not mean play. It just means your puppy learns to be comfortable in the presence of a dog. If they hang out with an old crotchety dog who will ignore them appropriately, that's excellent socialization. But here's what to look out for. You want to make sure their interactions, 1, are balanced. So we also call that mirroring. For example, if one dog is trying to drink water and the puppy is humping that dog, that's maybe harmless. It's not hurting anyone, but it's not balanced because one dog has one motivation and the other dog has a different set of motivations. That can quickly lead to frustration and a correction from a dog, or a minor scuffle. If one dog wants to play chase and the other dog repeatedly jumps on that puppy to wrestle instead, even though chase is good and wrestling is good, that's an imbalance in their play, and that can lead to stress and escalation of behaviors that we don't want. So look for balance. If this dog is sniffing, I expect this dog to sniff. If this dog invites some mouthy, wrestly play, I expect this dog to reciprocate. If this dog says stop, I expect this dog to stop. That's what a balanced play looks like. You also want to see them take breaks. When dogs don't take breaks while they're playing, even when play is going well, it has the potential to escalate and escalate and escalate until it suddenly turns into a fight. If you've ever been to a dog park and it seems like dogs are playing and suddenly a fight breaks out of nowhere, it's probably because one dog doesn't know how to take a break and they just keep playing harder and harder and harder until stress levels are high and it turns into a fight. All right. So number 1, balanced play / interactions. Number 2, make sure all parties are taking breaks. Number 3 is to look for who is instigating. If Paya is constantly the one going to Bray and pushing his buttons, that means that she is the instigator. And that means that he might not be as interested as she is because he is constantly not instigating and simply responding to her. Whereas if he's constantly going over to her and bopping her with his paw and she's moving away, one, that's imbalanced, but two, that means he's instigating a lot and she's not reciprocating. It all should be consensual, of course. And in balanced play, you see both dogs initiate play and pretty much taking turns. Like, hey, I'm gonna pester you for play. Now we're playing. Okay, we're gonna take a break. We're taking a break. Okay, now I'm gonna pester you for play. We're playing. Now we're taking a break. So all of these three factors, balanced play, taking breaks, and making sure both dogs are equally initiating are all very, very important. All right, so I'm gonna let them play now. And I'm gonna narrate this like it's a sporting event. A lot of behavior happens fast. So the good thing about all of our recordings is live streams is you can revisit them at any time. So for this portion, you might want to actually rewind if you want to learn more about body language and watch it again with my narration over what they are doing. So look at how calm both dogs are. Let me think. I don't want to handicap because I know them pretty well and they are both pretty well under control. And my space is open enough. She's had a potty break already. She doesn't need to go. So I know she's not going to soil the floor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by giving her a treat real quick because she's being such a good puppy. And I'm going to see if my older dog wants to interact. That's an important thing. Bray. She wants to. Do you see that little flip she did? Like that look. So she's licking his face. Look at him though, tail down, kind of tense in the face. Paya. I'm going to direct her away because he didn't seem very interested. Look at that. I mean, he's just standing there. He just licked his lips. He's not very interested into her. At the moment, he did a big stretch. Good girl. So look at how wiggly she was compared to how stiff he was. He did not give her any signals that he was into the play. So I think he wants a treat. Good. Good. Now, here's an example though. I know what's gonna happen because I live with these dogs and I know them, but let's say this was a friend's dog and my puppy is pestering him, right? Look at how low his tail is. Look at how he's turning his head away, right? He's not engaging her. He seems a little annoyed. Oh, the tail's coming up, but what I can do is pie. So this is why I would handicap a puppy because I can walk her away and I can grab my treats and I can redirect her to something more appropriate. Like, hey, that older dog doesn't want to play with you. Let's just hang out. Let's work on some sits. Let's work on some get-its. Let's work on some fun training games, right? Positive reinforcement training. And if this was the socialization session, I can teach my puppy to be comfortable yet calm in the presence of an older dog who does not want to play with her. This is a very important skill. But as you saw, his tail started wagging. And he's actually, one thing about Bray is I know him very well. Because he's staying in proximity, he will go to his bed if he's not comfortable with her. So he's probably going to explode into play once I give him the cue to do so. And I'm going to allow them to play now to narrate some play behaviors. Go play. So look at his tail now and look at how waggy it is. He immediately started turning his body and doing a lot of popping motions, right? So Bray does a lot of pawing. He's a really big dog. I want to make sure he doesn't hurt her. That's really important. So she jumped on his back, which he reciprocated. Now he's biting her neck. He does a lot of neck biting, which is not a very appropriate play gesture towards a dog that a dog doesn't know. Like if he did this to a dog he met at Blue Mountain for a hot second, absolutely, I would not allow that to continue. But they both are reciprocating. Look at his tail carriage. It's neutral. It's lightly wagging. His entire body is very loose, signaling he's very comfortable with the interactions. Now, clearly, if you didn't know these dogs, you would think, well, I need to worry about the little one, which is true because she is physically just smaller and I don't want her to be hurt. So look at what happens if I stop Bray. Bray! Go get her. So did you see how when I called him, she wasn't too overwhelmed because she immediately went back to him. So even though it looks like he is overwhelming her right now, she is showing she's instigating, right? We talked about this. She came back to him for more. Now Bray's self-handicapping. He put himself on the ground to make himself smaller and give her a chance at, being on top, so to speak. Now she's self-handicapping, and now they're both on the ground. So this is mirrored play, even though he's a bigger dog. Now he's self-handicapping and on his back. Oh, now she's on his back. That was really funny. All right, so it's going so fast. They're taking turns because look, how many times have I said the word self-handicapping now? So she's self-handicapping a bit. He's being very posy. He's actually very overwhelming. I wouldn't be surprised if he overwhelmed her by the end of this. We'll see. So it looks like he's gnawing on her neck, which again, because I know them, look at how she went to him, right? When he stopped. The fact that he stopped is also very important. Now she's biting his neck. Now she rolled on the ground. He hopped away, like gave her a chance to get up, but went back to it. So she's purposefully putting her head low because she actually likes it when he chews on her, but she also likes to chew on him. Let's fix that real quick. So even though this is, I think we can all agree, this play's pretty rough, right? Lots of tumbling, lots of mouthiness, but the intensity of the play has not escalated. It's pretty high as it is, but it has not escalated. I'm watching for if there's escalation. Escalation would look like more intense behavior, longer periods of mouthing, vocalization, just bigger movements, so to speak. Oh, is someone choking? Nope. Okay, that was a brief break. I don't know if you saw it because it was a split second, but a break doesn't mean they go and drink coffee on the side. It's when there is a slight pause in the interaction. A break might literally be 1 second long, but it still shows that the dog is able to take that break rather than continue playing. All right, Pi is doing a little bit of inguinal exposure, which is when she lifts her leg or is on her back and lets another dog sniff her genital area. So she's getting a little antsy, because she just barked a little bit. I can't really tell. I think she has some hackles on her back close to where her collar is. Hackles or piloerection just means the dog is getting more excited. So now there's a slight escalation. And what I want to see, great self-handicapping from Bray, what I want to see over the next few seconds is just a slight decrease in escalation. So I'm watching to see, are those hackles going to go down? Her hackles are very subtle. Some dogs have like a full mohawk effect going on. Hackles do not mean aggression. It just means stress or arousal. Oh, whoa. So did you hear that yelp? He was too rough, but look, he immediately stopped. And I'm just gonna see what happens here. Look at that. She goes right back to him. So I don't need to intervene here. If he was too rough and he continued pushing her buttons, I need to step in and stop him. But she yelped, he backed off. I paused. I had the leash and the treats ready, and she was the one to go back to him, signaling that both dogs were able to communicate, okay, let's take a quick break, and now I want you to play with me again. So that bark was a play bark because I saw her jump while barking at him. And actually, this is really subtle, but after she yelped, Bray's actually playing a little less roughly compared to before, which is good to see him adapt to how she communicated with him prior. Cute, now they're both on the ground. So even though he's clearly the bigger dog, he's mirroring her. There's a brief break here. Now they're both just kind of lying down and sniffing, but now they're back at it. So she's pressing him now. She did a little nip at his neck to egg him on for more. She's putting herself on the ground, biting his feet. Hey, play with me. Those are her signals that she wants to play. So some neck biting from Bray, but then he stops. That was an excitement bark. Bray growled a little bit there, but that was a play growl. It wasn't a an aggressive growl. You can tell because his lips are still really loose and it was pretty high pitched compared to what a defensive growl sounds like. It's a know your dog kind of situation. Look at how he bit her neck, but then jumped away, right? So really giving her those chances to get up and recover rather than completely overwhelming her. Oh, so that was pretty rough. He pretty much pounced on her, 2 paws over the back, knocked her down. She didn't care though. He did it again. Bray is a very pawsy dog. I see the question. I'm going to get to the question. I'm just going to either end this in a couple minutes or have it reach a natural point. This is a great pause. This is a break. And now they're going to get water. So they're taking the break together. He's drinking water and she's drinking water. Balanced, right? It's not he's drinking water, she's jumping on his back for more play. I love this. Let's see. This might be the point where they stop. We'll see. Oh, nope. So here are the rules of my house. So he's shaking it off. Bray looks like he is might be ready to stop. He just shook off. That's releasing stress. And not all stress is bad. It's kind of like, oh, that was such a fun baseball match. Woo, right? Like big sigh. That's the equivalent of that. But actually he's back at it. Okay. The rules of my house are if one dog doesn't want to play, I will stop play. There is absolutely no benefit to letting one dog continue pushing another dog's buttons. It just teaches that dog to be rude and pushy, and it teaches the other dog that they can't get away, which can increase fear and aggression over time. Again, I know I live with these 2 dogs, but the same rules apply for if I am introducing my dogs to any other dogs in the world. So Bray did like a snarly like roar roar there. That was playful, but it was a little deeper in tone. He might have been telling her to tone it down. I'm not very sure. But the interactions right now are a little toned down compared to a few seconds prior. So Bray is doing a little bit of self-grooming here. He just licked his legs. That's a mild pause signal. Like that would be like, hey, we're talking. I'm scrolling my phone now. I'm signaling I want to pause for a second. That's called displacement behavior. Another example of that would be if one dog started randomly sniffing the ground. They're signaling, okay, I'm showing you I'm focusing on something else now, so I want you to stop and focus on something else too. This is a great break. A little pause and interaction here. I think the both seem like they're winding down a little bit. Now, this is where it can get tricky because when dogs get a little tired of play, things can escalate or things can de-escalate. Sometimes dogs actually play more inappropriately the more tired they are. It's kind of like us getting sloppier with work when we're more tired. Look at still the very loose bodies, right? Look at my older dog's tail. I'm trying not to say his name so I don't interrupt him unnaturally, but his tail is horizontal to the ground, the base of it, and it's wagging fast or lightly. That signals comfort. If the tail was very low, that means mild discomfort or fear. If the tail's very high like a perpendicular to the ground, it would mean that he's very excited or aroused. Arousal isn't bad. It just means you need to watch out because a dog in a high arousal state can play rougher than they mean to. Like if you go back and watch the point where she yelped way back when, his tail was probably really high. He was probably being rougher than he is right now. All right, well, no, we have a little bit. Usually I, go to 6:40 here. So I'll let it go on for like another minute or two. They're doing very well though. It did not start like this. I can tell you all the reasons why. I'm actually very restrictive in my house, but there are many reasons why. And play did not start like this. They were actually very poorly matched and poorly balanced when things first started out with them. They weren't aggressive towards each other, but aggression is not the only problem you can have with dog-dog interactions. This is cute. So they're both low on the ground. They're matching each other's levels. Bray's just chewing on her neck a little bit, but she's also biting at his neck a little bit. Now he's sniffing. Oh, back at the neck. So those strikes he's doing, like la da da, strike his neck or strike her neck. His mouth is very gentle, which is why it's not hurting her. But some older dogs do that to correct puppies as well. I think at this stage it's still play. He's just a very mouthy dog. But just be aware that that doesn't mean your dog is trying to hurt the puppy if they bite their neck. It could just be a mild correction or a play gesture in this case. He just likes to chew on her neck. Look at her tail though, wagging on the ground. Her mouth is wide open and loose. So even though this kind of looks concerning because he's so big and he's literally chewing on her neck, she is telling me with her body language that this is okay. If it wasn't okay, I expect her to give him a signal, which she hasn't yet. But look at how he broke off on his own. Now they're sharing a resource together. So they're both taking a break and drinking water. Let's see if they actually stop now. We'll see. Good shake off from her. Shake off releases stress. So look. What a good dog. Oh, so yeah. Some sniffing going on. Now she is instigating here. I'm going to wrap this up soon. So if you have any questions about dog interactions or how to socialize your puppy with dogs in the world, please put them in the chat, because when I stop them, I'm going to go to the, not in the chat, in the comments. When I stop them, I'm going to look at the comments and answer as many questions as I can with the time that we have. So that was more corrective. That was more corrected. And actually, if you watch, what I was going to say is his gestures towards her are more responsive than initiative. Oh. So let's see what they do. I'm ready to step in. He's done. I think he's done. Look at, he's seeking attention from me. Look at how he's constantly moving away from her, right? She's not going to be the one to overpower him, but he moves away. His tail is still loose, so he's not completely uncomfortable with her, but she's still pushing him. So this is the part where I would interrupt them, because she responded to his correction, but she actually is coming back for more. So if I don't interrupt her, what I expect is for him to give her a bigger correction down the line, and that can escalate. So do you see how that was a deeper bark and she paused right there. For her age, she's 6 months old. 6-month-old puppies are very rude. They're very poor at self-regulating. Some of the rudest players at dog parks are the dogs that are adolescents, which is why she keeps pushing for more, right? If I let this continue, she might grow up to be a dog that doesn't know how to set limits when playing with other dogs. I need to set the limits here, but when she grows up, I expect her to actually walk completely away more as she matures. But for now, I'm just going to wait for a nice little stopping point, and I'm going to actually separate them. You always want to reward your puppy after a dog interaction, even if it was not playing. Like, okay, you sniffed and now you're just walking away. Good job, puppy. I'm going to give you a treat, because you want to show them, one, dog interactions are good. They end on a high note. And two, ending them is good too. And hanging out with you is also good. This will teach your dog and puppy to have good interactions, but also control their fixation levels so that focusing on you is equally as fun as seeking interaction from other dogs. All right. Actually, I am going to stop them, but it's just so cool to see she's toning herself down because she still wants to play with him, but she was corrected twice. So she sees that he doesn't want to play in the same way anymore. And she actually just changed her play style to convince him to play more, which is so cool to see that. All right. You ready, dogs? Awesome. All right. Go to your mats. She went to her crate instead. Nice job. But let's go to your mat. Good girl. I'm going to put on her tether real quick. She's going into her crate and she thinks that's where the good things happen, which is true. All righty. This is where like, okay, I'm leaving now. Thanks for the play date. Let me put my puppy on leash. Let me give her some treats to show her how great that all was, but also how great it is to be put on leash and to walk away from the dog interaction. I'm just going to show off here real quick. Wait. Free. Awesome. And in my house, dog interactions end with a snack. So they're so great. All right, let me get to a really great question here. Linda wrote, my dog is very loud when playing. She's not aggressive. She just seems to be overly vocal. Can this be stopped? It depends. So vocal play is very, very normal for a lot of dogs. But if a lot of vocalizations are tied to high arousal. So my question to you is your dog always vocal in play or only during the most heated parts of play? If vocalization is tied to high arousal, I would just gently lead your puppy away to give her a little break so that she learns to control her play better and to tone it down a notch. So when they first started playing, I have videos, I think, of them playing and Paya would just bark and bark and bark at him, which is harmless, right? But it was also tied to fixating on him and just not leaving him alone, even when Bray was giving very obvious signals that he didn't want to play. So it's not that vocalizations are bad. It's just indicative of what like kind of the meter in your dog, like where are they at? Whoop, okay, they're on the high end. Let's bring them down. But if your dog is just vocal and otherwise playing incredibly well and taking breaks and such, it just might be part of your dog's nature. It could also be part of development. So Paya was just more barky when she was much younger, and she's way less barky now that she's matured. So there are so many factors, but great. Always in growling. So growling can be, growly play is totally normal. I can show you a video of Bray and my older dog playing, and my older dog growls the entire time. Again, you want to watch what the rest of their body is doing. If the rest of their body and their interactions with the other dog are not appropriate or kind of getting too much, you want to just give them a break. And back to handicapping, if your dog is the one that's always the instigator, the stronger one, all of that, you maybe want to just have her drag a leash on a harness so that you can easily remove her and give her a break. Me and my team, we're always happy to review body language videos for free. So if you want to take a clip of your puppy or your dog interacting with another dog, send it to behavior@myhswm.org and we will review it for free. So let me show you, just in case you didn't write that down, let me show you our resources here. So this screen that you're seeing just gives you a lot of information. Any questions at all about dog interactions or more, email us at behavior@myhswm.org. Excuse me, I have the hiccups. And we're hoping to start offering in-person classes in the near future, but we don't have a set date yet. We are absolutely going to be offering these free behavior live streams every Thursday night and every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock through the month of March, which is almost over, I know. Thursdays like tonight are focused on puppy topics, but applicable to dogs of all ages. Wednesdays, 6 o'clock behavior spotlight is focused on more broader topics, but totally accessible for puppies. Sorry, that just stopped. I'm just going to start it again. There's playing behind me right now. Bray actually went to her, which is pretty cool. So our lovely coworker Katie, she's also editing these live streams and posting them on YouTube. So you can visit all of our previous topics: leash skills, how to stop your puppy from being mouthy, house training, coming when called, on our YouTube channel, which is HSWM, and you see the link in that share screen right there. Last but not least, if you're feeling generous and would like to make a donation, we are so happy to offer these free services, but every penny you can give us will go towards the care of our shelter pets. Thank you so much again for joining me for tonight's live stream. I hope it was as fun and educational for you as it was fun for me. All right, guys, take a break. Go on. This is why there are restrictions in my household. Look at my space. Like, can you imagine this just happening in my less than 300 square foot space here all the time? I mean, I don't know how I could live with that. So, but they're both happy and they're both well trained. All right, you guys have a good night. I hope to see you guys at the next live stream.